Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the new CBL X's and O podcast for season 23. Matt Royal, CBL League Manager here, and joining me today, I have Sammy Gazzo from the Mildura Heat men's team to discuss and preview the upcoming season for the Northwest Conference. Welcome, Sammy.
G'day, Matt. Thanks for having me, mate. Good on you for doing this. This is really great. I think any sort of coverage that we can get that promotes the league and the players and so forth is really great. So good on you for doing this, mate. Well done.
Thanks. Certainly looking to try and improve the media presence of our CBL competition. And we'll start off previewing the Northwest men, and we'll start with the reigning champions, Melton. They were undefeated last season in their first year into the competition. How do you see them looking this season?
Yeah, there's been a couple of changes from what I can see just in regards to the list that they have put in, and some big names there are out, but Mick's a great coach. They've got a great organisation out there, and we did go down to them in the final last year, which was tough. We were probably with them for 2.5 quarters, a couple of injuries, and a couple of things happened, and then their skill just sort of came to the top. So we're looking forward to catching up with them again and giving them a good game, because we do really respect them. But from what the list, they look like they're going to be competitive, and potentially the team to beat. Why not?
For sure. I'm sure Melton will be looking to go back to back and become champions once again. The next team we'll look at is yourself, the runners-up, Mildura. Unfortunately, couldn't get the ring last year. How are you guys shaping up?
Yeah, look, good. We've got the core guys that we had last year are returning again. There's a couple of changes down the end that some have left and some have come back in. So look, we're positive where we're at, but I guess we can't wait to play. That's how you're going to know, isn't it? So we've put a couple of things in and changed a few things. I was assistant coach last year, and Brenton did a great job. So I'll be at the helm this year, and we've changed a couple of things, and we'll see how we go. We're just excited this weekend. We can't wait.
Definitely is exciting times for round one now. We'll shuffle down the road to your neighbouring association, Swan Hill, who you battle in round one. It's going to be a great way to kick off the season. The excitement, I'm sure, is building in Mildura. How do you see your opponents in Swan Hill?
We love Swan Hill. Their coach Stevie's got quite a presence down here, in Mildura, and like you said, they're a neighbour. We are quite isolated where we are, so our neighbour is 2.5 hours away. But it's great that we get to play them twice this year. We get to play them up here and down there. So we're looking forward to that, and the challenge. We got up only by a couple of points last year, and they shot the ball really well here. So looks like they got majority of their list returning. So again, we respect our opponents. Can't wait to play them and see what we can do. But I think Swan Hill again. They probably didn't get the wins last year that they wanted. From memory, I think they only won a couple of games. So I think they'd want to improve on that, because their talent certainly would say that they probably should have won a few more games.
For sure. They had a 2-7 record last season, so they'll be looking to improve. The next team I want to have a look at is Eureka. Unfortunately, last season we had some floods affect the competition, mainly Eureka. They were only able to manage 7 games, and they went with a 2-5 record, finished 8th on the ladder. Hopefully they can bounce back and have a better season this season.
Yeah, definitely. We were fortunate enough to actually play Eureka in Eureka. That was after. So they'd opened, I think it was probably the last round, second last round that we played them, and they'd opened the roads and so forth, and the community got into it. And it was great. Look, we did win quite convincingly, but the crowd was there. They supported both teams, and I think they were just happy to have some sort of normality after so many weeks of having so many interruptions. So, that's probably the great thing about this season at the moment, is the fact that everybody can travel and get to where we need to get to. So, Eureka were big, Eureka were tough. I'm sure they'll be hoping to improve on that record, and they'll probably be hoping to have more people play at their stadium, see if they can get a bit of a home court advantage.
Yeah, and the community spirit is there this season. I know they had their tournament last weekend, and it was quite big. The vibe is there, so it'll be interesting travelling into Eureka and actually hopefully getting a full season out of them this year. Touch wood, we don't get affected by fires or floods or anything like that. Next team is Bendigo. always contenders, Bendigo. You never know sort of what you're going to get, but they're always going to be a quality outfit. How do you see them shaping up?
Yeah, they were. We didn't play them last year. They were the one team that we didn't play. So we had played 8 out of the 10 teams, 9 or 10 teams. They were the one team we actually didn't get to play last year. So, knowing the association and knowing that, obviously they're a great association, NBL1 program, WNBL program through the, women's side and so forth. So you'd think they'd be tough. They'd have a lot of juniors coming through and there'd be a lot of people fighting for spots that are wanting to show that they're, able to play in that next level, whether it be youth league and or NBL1 with their team. So you expect, Bendigo to be competitive every single year.
And your semi-finalist opponent, who you were able to get over the line, Castlemaine, they were a tough team last season. How do you see them going this season?
Yeah, very tough team. Very tough team last year. We were very lucky. There was a couple of balls towards the end that sort of shook the game, but otherwise it was neck and neck all the way through. Castlemaine were tough. They were big. They were strong. They were athletic. They could shoot the ball. They had everything. They ticked all the boxes, and we were just able to execute, at the end by a couple of points. So you'd expect, depending on who is returning again, that, they will be a tough team. Again, they're right by Bendigo, so they're within that region. So there'd be quite a few people there that will develop within that region there and play for Castlemaine instead of Bendigo, which we sort of found last year. So expecting the same. We expect Castlemaine to probably be towards the top come the end of the season.
And Maryborough finished with a 5-3 record last season and missed out on finals in a head-to-head classification with Bendigo. How do we feel they're going to match up this season?
Yeah, they were tough. We played them down there, and they were tough. Quite a mixture of young and experienced. I think that they might have lost the last round or something on that head-to-head. I'm pretty sure. I think they had to win the last round or something of that nature to get into the final. So they're very, very unlucky. But we found when we played down there that they were very tough. So, again, missing out the finals on a head-to-head and, some of that list returning, you think, again, they're going to try to contend. Tough stadium to play in, great stadium to play in. So, I'm sure, when people come to town that they'll look to keep that home court advantage and make sure that, that they get those wins there, and then it's just about travelling. So, you expect them to be tough.
And they've had a key transfer in Zach Dunmore, transferring from Ararat across to Maryborough this season. Zach was All-Star 5 leading scorer, and I believe he was MVP of the Southwest Conference. So that's only going to strengthen the Maryborough team this season. So I guess we got to look out for that as well. But
not a bad pickup then, you're saying? Inside scoop, not a bad pickup. Okay. Someone to watch out.
Kyneton unfortunately couldn't get the biscuits last year, couldn't get onto the winners list, but they're shaping up a little bit more competitive this season from their list.
So we played them first round of the year. Obviously, I can only talk from experience in regards to what I've seen, and they were tough. They gave a red hot crack when we did play them. There were some games that they were quite unlucky to win. Obviously, they didn't get me last year, so I'm sure come round 1 this weekend they'll be ready to try and start the season off in a better way and try and beat last year and try and get a win. So you expect them to compete hard every single time that they play. So see how that goes.
Nothing better to start the season off with a bit of a rivalry or neighbouring association clash, and Kyneton go up against Macedon Rangers this season, or this week, I should say. So how do we see Macedon finish 6th on the ladder with a 4-4, so a 500 record last season? How do we think they're going to go?
Yeah, Macedon, it looks like the majority of their list is returning, and they were quite a big, solid, physical team. There was a couple of games there that they probably should have won. I think we only beat them by a couple of single digits in the end. So they're a big physical team. And, again, it looks like some of their better players are returning. So, you expect them to be quite competitive again. The great thing about having majority of the people returning in your list, you hope if you're a bit of familiarity. So sometimes having a few people come in and out, you're not too sure. And, you only get how many games? We only get 10 games or 9 games that you get to sort of play and get used to each other. So, you hope after one CBL season or a couple of CBL seasons that you get sort of more familiar with each other, and that's, potentially what you expect here with Macedon.
And the last team for us to preview in the men is Backers Marsh. Now, they had a 3-6 record and finished 7th on the ladder last season. I don't think that did the team justice. They had some really tight games and were in the game in a lot of their games for majority of the game. How do we see them matching up?
I think you're right in the preview in the sense that there was probably a few games that could have gone either way that they did lose to. Again, looking at the list, there's some familiar names from last year, and it's just a matter of getting familiar and just executing. So, not sure who's coaching out there, but I'm sure they'd want to get the list together and, just make sure they improve on what they were last year. So, instead of 3-7, if you can go 7-3 and something of that nature and be competitive. So, I think all across the men's section, it's, Melton last year were undefeated. They were probably clear on top, and it sort of feels that everybody else was sort of neck and neck besides Melton last year. So you feel if, teams have improved their roster or if they get a bit familiar with each other, put in a good pre-season, that it'll be, competitive again this year. So that's the exciting thing about it is we get to go out there and see who's improved over the last 12 months.
We certainly do. And round 1 kicks off Saturday with Kyneton taking on Macedon Rangers, followed by Maryborough hosting Bendigo, and then the big battle in Mildura with them taking on Swan Hill. And the last game on Saturday night will see Melton taking on arch rivals next door in Backers Marsh. Sunday sees Eureka taking the court for the first time against Bendigo, and Macedon will take on Castlemaine. So exciting round 1 fixture, probably a pretty tough round 1 fixture, some really big rivalry games in there. So looking forward to seeing the action unfold for the men's side of the competition. Yeah,
it'll be great. It'll be great. It'll be interesting to see the discussion after round 1, what happens.
The review of round 1 will be interesting to see where teams are sitting from the big round 1 that we're going to hold. So we'll move forward to the Northwest women, and our reigning champions Bendigo finished first with a 7-0 record, which then followed through into the NBL 1 season where Bendigo were able to go undefeated through there to become national champions. They've got a bit of a list that they can pull from, I guess. How do we think they're going to go?
Yeah, so we were at the final last year, and Mildura, our women's team, were runners-up. So we got there a bit early and got to have a bit of a look. And it was probably similar to our game in the sense it was quite competitive for maybe until half-time or something of that nature. And then I guess the cream rises to the top and, in crunch situations, and they were able to win by quite a bit. So, like you said, like I said before as well, the association's quite strong. They've got a list of players to choose from. They'll take the players that, want to play over, and you expect them to be competitive again. So, Bendigo is probably the team to watch for in the women's section.
That's it. And I guess Mildura finishing runners-up, they were going to want to go one better. How are they going? You probably trained next to them on the same night. How are they shaping up?
Yeah, the women are great. Probably similar to us. They've had an interrupted pre-season through different things, trying to get everyone together. But a younger list, some returning. A bit of Big V experience there as well. And I think they'll look to compete. Having Alana back helps. She's gone and played NBL 1 over in Adelaide, and was a youth player of the year over there and things of that nature. So for her to come back and give some experience on the younger women there will be really crucial.
And again, Swan Hill down the road, they've got a fairly long list of names that they've provided for this season, which is great to see for the town of Swan Hill to have so many names on their list. How do we see them shaping up?
Yeah, it looks like they've got a whole bunch of names to pick from. Again, with the first round coming up, they'll be able to be quite competitive when it comes to neighbours and some sort of rivalry. A lot of people have grown up playing against each other in country championships and things of that nature. So, round 1 will sort of, like you said before, you want to start off the season on the right foot. So expect them to come up here and give a real fight and see if they can start the season off on the right foot.
And Maryborough had a bit of a strange one last year. They finished 4th on the ladder, but actually got to host the semi-final due to some venue unavailability from Bendigo at the semi-final weekend. Couldn't get the job done in the end. How do we see them shaping up?
Yeah, again, quite competitive through the year. getting fourth place is great and being able to play finals. They're probably thinking that they probably want to go up a couple spots on the ladder and try and get another home final and contend and get there again. So I believe that it might have been was it the WNBL game that was on or something of that nature? I think that's why they couldn't get the stadium or something. But yeah, I'm sure they'll be up there again competing. Again, they've got a long list of names there, so looks like they've got a lot of girls coming through that they're wanting to contend and compete and represent Maryborough.
And Kyneton finished second on the ladder, only dropped that one game, which was to Bendigo, I believe, last season. How do we see them going? They've got a great list they've put together. I think they're going to be contenders again.
Yeah, unbelievable to lose one game and miss out like that. But I think they were. I remember that women last year were, really were talking about them and talking them up and thinking that they were potentially going to win it all, for how strong they were. So, again, they're probably thinking that, having only lost one game, that they'll probably be unlucky not to get into the final and to play off. So, look for them to be a real threat and go one better this year.
And the Macedon Rangers finished 9th, couldn't get on the winners list, a little bit like Kyneton in the men. They're only going to improve. They've got a bit of a list this year. They've got some juniors coming through. I think they're going to be a little bit more competitive this season, that's for sure.
Yeah, and when you come from a season where you haven't won a game, you're looking for improvement. There's probably not as much focus on, potentially, on the coach there, but something of that nature of, okay, how can we improve on last year? Well, you might want to get a win over the first, 2 or 3 rounds and then and move on and develop and go from there. So, round 1 is really crucial. You haven't won a game last year. How do you come out and how do you respond? So, like you said, a lot of names there. So I'm sure the girls have put some work in and will want to go one better this year and at least, get a win on the board, definitely.
And Bacchus Marsh finished with the 500 record of 4-4, just above their neighbouring rivals in Melton. How do we think Bacchus Marsh are going to go? Yeah,
it looks like a bit of a small list with the women's team out there. So probably just relying on the faithful that they have there. Some, with who's returning and who's available. So, 4-4 is not a bad record. Just putting that work in and seeing how they're going over, this year, 4-4, and trying to see if we can make finals. Did they finish maybe 6th or something of that? Sure. They weren't far off. 5th, was it? There you go. So finals will probably be the goal for them this year and see if they can get into that grand final out of Bendigo. I'm assuming that's where it's going to be because that's a nice stadium.
We will wait and see what the tender comes to for our grand finals. And our last team to preview in the women was Melton. Change of coach, and I think they've been looking at the list of a couple of name changes as well in there. So, bit of a new squad, new coach. How do we think they're going to go?
Yeah, it's always exciting when there's a new coach and that comes in and you've got new names. So, there's the exciting of the unknown. So, that's probably where Melton sit at the moment. Is a bit of an unknown. There's a couple of names that are familiar and a couple of names that aren't. The new coach, what sort of a system do they bring in? So, again, talking about the association, they've got a great association, so I'm sure they'll be looking to be competitive over in the women's section, and those players that haven't played get excited. Country CBL, how good is it? No, Melton will be competitive.
Definitely is, and obviously round 1 Saturday, all double headers. So the women will play before the men in Kyneton playing Macedon, Maryborough hosting Bendigo, Mildura hosting Swan Hill, and Melton taking on Bacchus Marsh. So, and then Sunday, slight change in the fixture compared to the men's, with Kyneton hosting Bendigo and the Macedon Rangers hosting Melton. So some really good matchups there, and we're looking forward to seeing round 1 take place and again catching up next week to review what is round 1, and hopefully will give us a little bit more insight of where teams are potentially going to sit or where they're going to land this upcoming season.
Yeah, it'd be great. We'll probably be more familiar with more names, and we'll have some stars and people to watch. So we'll be able to go in a bit more in depth in regards to how the teams go and how we think they're going to shape up based on how they go in round 1. So it's exciting. We're here finally after all those weeks of putting some hard work in. See what happens.
Definitely is. So round 1 kicks off Saturday night, and that pretty much wraps up episode 3 of the CBL podcast. Please join us next week as we review round 1, and we're also previewing round 2. Just want to thank you, Sammy, for joining me on the podcast and giving your insight into the teams for this upcoming season, and look forward to chatting with you throughout the season and seeing how we go.
Yeah, appreciate your time again. Again, thanks for doing this, and exciting to see what happens moving forward. Gotta love it.
Thank you, everyone, and look forward to you tuning in next week.